Hello, this is CryftEntertainment, and I'm gonna be rambling about Guild Wars 2 and more specifically about the Ranger. Gonna show you some skills, gonna show you a lot of bursts that the Ranger can do, and I'm gonna talk about the traits. I'd also like to show you a little bit of world PvP, but since we kinda dominated at that, there's not much to show. So let's head over to the skill section. Like in any other of my spotlight videos, I made a little table to show you how much crowd control and how much mobility a Ranger has. I took the weapons longbow and a sword and a warhorn offhand. Longbow gives you a lot of burst damage. I'm gonna show you a lot of burst tricks, and the most burst you're gonna get from rapid fire. It's gonna build up with some arrows. You're gonna do a lot of damage with that, and the other skills are to back you up with that. Plus you also have a knockback with longbow, which is also very cute and very awesome. And you also have a barrage with cripples foes, and if you're positioning well, this could be very useful. As for the second weapon, sword and warhorn, it's more personal preference. You could run with a great sword as well. I chose sword and warhorn because warhorn gives you the ultimate gives you a very strong buff, which is swiftness and might, which allows you to do a lot of burst, and sword gives you a lot of mobility as well. So you can leap around, you can leap backwards, you can even by combining those two leaps, the second skill, you can actually jump from one place to another, and you can actually control your jump. While as a great sword, you just have a charge forward, and here you can leap at your foe or you can leap away from your foe. But if you untarget your foe, you can actually just jump to wherever you want and switch to your longbow and shoot down your opponent. As for my healing skill, I picked heal as 1. You heal yourself, you heal your pet. Why this skill? It heals it heals a lot, and also has a 20-second cooldown, so you can use it quite often. As utility, I took a signet, which increases my movement speed, and my pet's next attack deals more damage. Alright, maybe the active isn't that great, although your pet does quite a lot of damage, since I'm running a crit build, and grants 10% movement speed, quite nice for kiting, and the other two are mainly to immobilize, cripple, and evil and tumble back. It's purely for movement, since you just want to get away from your target really, so you can output your burst. And the elite skill is an entangle, which entangles your foe, and I even have some footage of muddy terrain. Very useful in group fights. You gotta run away with that with the ranger, so or you can switch to your sword if you're a badass. But you know, I'm used to the kiting. Once you're into Guild Wars 2, you gotta get used to a little bit that you can also do a lot of damage melee, but mainly from my footage you're gonna see a lot of kiting and burst damage with my bow. Alright, enough from this boring table. Maybe I'll be able to actually show you some footage in game. As for my stats, I went for a crit focused build, but still a lot of survivability. I still have a high amount of vitality and of toughness. Still, you can take quite a few hits. I've also tried a full power build, which it wasn't as great as the crit build. The critical chance cap is 50%, so if I've removed my bow, it's still 50%, even though I have a 5% crit chance rune, so 50% is the crit cap. If you are at the crit cap, you want to go to a little bit more of power. I also tried a full damage build without the vitality, which does a lot of damage, and it was actually quite nice. I'm gonna show you some footage of that later, and we're now gonna take a look at my traits here for a second. I went in a lot of points in marksmanship, since we're already at the crit cap, so we don't really need to put a lot more into that crit stat, into skirmishing. Plus the marksmanship runes give you a nice longbow DPS increase. For example, here I'm having a rune that damage is increased by 5% with your longbow. Plus I also have a rune that increases longbow range, so your auto attacks are going to do an even bigger amount of damage. First rune really does 10% more damage when your endurance is full, so when you're standing still and you're kinda shooting your burst, you're gonna do a lot of damage. The skirmishing runes gives me a bleeding effect on critical hits, and since we're at the crit cap of 50% crit cap, well, we're gonna have a lot of bleeds on your target, so that's a lot of damage increase actually. Same goes for wilderness and beast mastery. They're just taken because the runes are pretty nice, and the added stats gives you a nice boost. Basically, this is actually the default build of the Guild Wars 2 Ranger, although I only changed the runes. So Beast Mastery increases my pet rechargeability of the skill of the pet, which is very useful because I take pets that immobilize my opponent. Basically, you can choose your pet to your personal preference. It's more about the ability than the actual damage that it's going to do. I choose most of all immobilize ability. It gives you an extra ability to kite and to run away from your opponent, since it's really my playstyle to kite some people. So I promised you some damage footage. I'm gonna show you a little burst here. It's not the best, it's quite average. I think I got about 6k with the crit cap. Here I got 5.4, not that much. Also, if you go with a Berserker Amulet, now my power is increased with 400 more, but I lost 400 Vitality, so yeah, you gotta cut something somewhere. Anyway, this does a lot of damage. In this burst I use the Warhorn ability, which increases your swiftness and your power, and also use the Water Spirit, which also increases your power, so your damage on is gonna be a lot higher. I nuked this golem down, this heavy golem down, with one ability. And I could have done even more damage if I didn't have Entangle, if I used another elite skill, which also again increases your power and your swiftness. So if I have used that, I would have done even more, but you know, I'm running this PvP setup, so I'm just using this skill. I'm fighting two rangers here, I'm doing nothing skillful at all, just standing still, shooting my arrows with my build, and by the I shoot one ranger down, I have half HP, while the other ones are still shooting at me and failing miserably. This was a Cryft. I hope you enjoyed my guide a little bit. I didn't have a lot of time making it or getting footage because I only had 4 hours in the beta. I hope you still enjoyed it. I had fun making it, and I hope I see you in the next video. So see you later. Ciao.